believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you
needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and needs all these other people, because everybody's going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out.
Right.
They're not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a great fighter and they want to see him.
Dana White just dismantled the idea of the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul boxing match, and it's hard to disagree. Jake Paul was never in it for the blood, sweat, and bruises of a real boxing match. From day one, his game plan was about raking in fame and cash. Let's be honest, he's not looking to knock someone out, but to milk content gold on YouTube.
And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that stands...
Tyson's wild promos and dramatic face-off clips weren't just side projects. They were the main attraction. The man knows how to ride the hype train straight to the bank. As they say, once a YouTuber, always a YouTuber. Dana White didn't just tear into Jake for being a fame chaser. He brought up so many alleged shady dealings that it felt like a courtroom drama. By the end, even I had more reasons to dislike Jake Paul than I thought possible.
Stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's standing in the middle with the warlock nose and the big warlock wart on his face, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me. And let's just say this, he no longer works for me, and I think he's a scumbag.
In Dana White's signature no-nonsense style, he obliterates Jake Paul, calling him one of the biggest frauds in fight sports. Dana doesn't just throw around insults for fun. He's accusing Jake of juicing up on steroids and dismissing his entire boxing career as a parade of gimmicky matchups.
I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too.
Before anyone dismisses Dana's words, remember this is the guy who transformed the UFC from backyard brawls into a global multi-billion-dollar empire. His knowledge of the fight game isn't up for debate. When Dana talks, even the loudest skeptics have to sit down and pay attention because he knows his stuff.
You think that you can do it better than we do. We're doing this whole thing wrong. You could treat the fighters better than we do. Knock yourself out. Go start your own business. It's easy to do. Get the Warlock on it. The Warlock can get it started for you. What you and the Warlock should be focused on is your business.
Dana's fury isn't just a personal beef with Jake. It's a deep-seated rage over what he sees as the cheapening of the sport. He believes Jake manipulates boxing, turning it into a spectacle for clicks and cash. Dana even takes a jab at Jake's manager, sarcastically calling him the Warlock. This guy, once an accountant for the UFC who couldn't hack it, is now, in Dana's words, reduced to being Jake Paul's errand boy. Dana paints him as a cautionary tale, a former number cruncher now desperately trying to stay relevant by clinging to Jake's social media circus. The mockery is palpable as Dana highlights how far this Warlock has fallen from any semblance of respectability. He fights older people that are smaller. It's all the same. Dana scoffs. But his trash talk doesn't end there. Dana ups the ante in true fight promoter style, challenging Jake Paul in a way that goes beyond words. He demands a steroid testing showdown, claiming Jake's biceps aren't courtesy of hard work and protein shakes alone. Dana wants random drug tests for Jake and proposes a wild deal. He'll undergo random cocaine testing for 10 years. 10 whole years of drug testing, all to prove he's clean. The challenge is set, and Dana's message is clear. In his eyes, Jake Paul is a fraud, and he's willing to go to great lengths to expose him.
He fights older people that are smaller. It's all...
I'm ready to roll, buddy. I don't use cocaine. Do you use steroids? Let's do this, Jake.
This whole steroid versus cocaine drama has become a spectacle bigger than some actual fights. It's a media frenzy with headlines splashed everywhere and social media users losing their collective minds. Suddenly, the Tyson versus Jake Paul matchup isn't just about who's getting code in the ring. It's now drenched in controversy, with accusations flying and egos clashing like heavyweights. Dana's challenge isn't just spicy trash talk. It's a battle cry demanding Jake Paul prove he's not all smoke and mirrors. The fight hype has evolved from punch predictions to wild steroid accusations, making this showdown even more explosive.
Jake, you never responded to the challenge. You publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you.
Jake Paul has never been one to back down from a heated debate, especially when it involves stirring up drama. His latest crusade is fighter pay, and he's leaning in hard, portraying himself as the noble warrior standing up for underpaid MMA fighters. The guy who made his name pulling pranks on YouTube is now acting like the Robin Hood of the fight world. He loves to rattle off attention-grabbing numbers, $600,000, which he claims is the average pay for top-tier UFC heavyweights, versus $30 million, the jaw-dropping payday for heavyweight boxing champs. According to Jake, it's a massive injustice, and naturally, he positions himself as the only hero brave enough to call it out. However, Dana White isn't buying it and comes in hot with sarcasm so sharp it might as well have blades. Dana openly scoffs at Jake Paul's supposed grasp of fighter pay and the business behind it. It's almost comical how dismissive Dana is of Jake's claims, highlighting the disconnect between Jake's narrative and the reality of the fight business.
Do you think he's not paying fighters fairly?
It's all greed and it's all going to fill Dana White's pocket.
Dana White, the mastermind who transformed the UFC into a global powerhouse, isn't interested in a YouTuber lecturing him about finances. Dana lays it out, telling Jake Paul that if he thinks he's so clever, he should stop whining and start his own MMA organization. He even throws down a sarcastic challenge, saying it's easy to do, with an eye roll that implies the complete opposite. It's like Dana is daring Jake to put his millions where his mouth is and learn just how brutal running a fight promotion can be.
He didn't even know half the guys' fucking names on the card. And the list goes on and on with that guy.
Khabib, he retired. Do you think there's ever a chance that Khabib would come back and fight? Is there a number that you can say, Khabib, we got 20 million, we got 25 million?
I threw the numbers at him, trust me.
This isn't just playground banter, it's a collision of two massively different worlds. On one side, you have Dana White, who built the UFC into the gold standard of mixed martial arts, working with legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who left the sport undefeated and untouchable. On the other side, there's Jake Paul, whose entire combat sports career is a series of viral marketing stunts against retired, often smaller MMA stars. Jake paints Dana as a greedy tycoon profiting off underpaid athletes, but Dana sees through the act. He calls Jake out as a self-serving fraud who only pretends to care about fighter welfare when it suits his brand.
He's making money. If you can...
you making real money, Dana, or are you making...
I don't know. That I don't know. I don't know what he's really making.
Let's talk about Jake's so-called crusade for fighter pay. It gets even funnier when you consider his own fight lineup. He's made millions boxing against retired out of prime and smaller fighters like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren. Meanwhile, Jake keeps bragging about his earnings as if that makes him a champion of justice. Dana finds it laughable, and honestly, it does come off as a bit hypocritical. If Jake truly wanted to make a difference, he'd probably be doing more than just talking.
And was also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds...
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
And making a living at it. I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against...
With the added spectacle of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, things get even messier. Mike Tyson is a living legend, but he's also pushing 60. He's no longer the unstoppable force he once was, the man who could knock someone out in seconds. Yet here he is, about to face off against Jake, who's 3 decades younger. The age gap alone is almost insulting. Critics like Bernard Hopkins aren't shy about calling it out. Hopkins, who knows a thing or two about longevity in boxing, says Jake and Tyson shouldn't even be in the same conversation.
Guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that?
He says he wants to fight Canelo. I'm just saying what he... That's what
I hear you. Then why is he not fighting Canelo?
Canelo, I don't think Canelo wants to waste his time.
Yeah.
Let's face it, as much as people criticize, they can't resist the spectacle. It's like watching a train wreck. You just can't look away. The idea of 58-year-old Mike Tyson landing one of his legendary punches on Jake Paul's face is pure viral gold. Former UFC fighter Brendan Schaub breaks down the possibilities. If Jake knocks out Tyson, he'll be called a bully for beating up an old man. But if Tyson knocks out Jake, it's game over for Jake's boxing credibility. The worst-case scenario? A dull decision win that leaves everyone, including Netflix, wishing they'd spent their money elsewhere. Jake's preparation is making waves too. He's bulked up, moved to heavyweight, and is trying to look like a serious contender. But critics, led by Dana White, aren't impressed. Dana thinks Jake's game is rigged, fighting retired or undersized opponents. Despite Jake's Instagram-worthy workouts, many wonder if he can actually handle Tyson, even an older version. Is this just another chapter in Jake's endless campaign to stay relevant and keep the cash flowing? Ultimately, this fight isn't just about boxing. It's a battle for respect within the sport. Jake Paul is trying to wear the hat of a crusader for fighters' rights, but his actions paint a different story. Dana White isn't letting him off the hook, highlighting every contradiction and exposing Jake as someone who cares more about his brand than the sport he claims to defend. This saga isn't just a fight. It's a war of words, egos, and reputations.